Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to discuss the watcher situation. Why now? Why not 2 weeks ago when everyone else was talking about this? Well, because I was busy doing my 50 Shades of Grey video, thank you very much. And also, I think sometimes maybe it's best to not jump the gun, even though you get a lot of views if you do, because I did originally make a video when they did their Goodbye YouTube video where they announced that they were switching over to their own homemade streaming service and that they would be putting all of their content behind a paywall and taking off their former content on YouTube. They did say that. There was a Variety article that stated that was their plan, but when they had backlash, they backpedaled on that really hard. I did a video reacting to that, spent an hour yapping away, and then by the time I was finished, they put up another video called An Update. So I chucked my video in the bin, and you'll just have to believe me here because I could just be lying. I could be making this up. But I said in my original video, they have two options now. Number one, ignore all of the criticism and double down, go ahead with the streaming service and probably fade into irrelevancy quite quickly. Or number two, do something even harder than fade into irrelevancy. Say sorry. And they did. They admitted that they messed up. Now, one or two things to note about their original video. It was very emotionally manipulative. Oh, look at this cheesy music. I can't use any clips because it's copyrighted and it'll get claimed, and I want this. To be honest, they probably do need the money if they wanted to switch over to a $6 a month subscription service to eke every last penny out of their fans. I got a hair in my mouth again. They probably need the money more than me. So maybe I should let them copyright claim this video. Maybe the proceeds from this can go towards another Ghost Files. I'm just so charitable. I am so bitchy. Things to note for those who are uninitiated. I did not know who this channel was before they made their announcement because Evangelina Scov is a fan and she told me and I was like, what? True story. Facts. That's exactly how that went down. These guys are ex-BuzzFeed employees. I recognize Stephen Lim from the Worth It series that he did with Andrew and Adam. So I recognized him. I didn't really know about the other two. And I found it interesting when I was watching the original video that whilst it was very heavy on the emotional manipulation, the other two, Ryan and Shane, did frequently talk about their passion for creating and filmmaking, and they said thank you to their audience at the end. Stephen Lim was the one that spoke about the financial part of it, and he didn't say thank you at the end of the video. Go watch if you don't believe me. The other two are like, thank you for everything. If you choose to not join us on this subscription journey, they said some sort of crap like that. Thank you for all you've done. And Stephen just looks at the camera and goes, bye. It was so funny. So when all this went down, I went into like this just research hole, looking on Twitter and looking on Instagram and Reddit and blah, 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 blah. There's no other sites where people were talking about this, but I went down like a little rabbit hole. And it seems that a lot of the fan base don't really gel with Stephen. They don't like his content. They mainly seem there for Ryan and Shane. And I also think it's important to note, they're all ex-BuzzFeed employees. They were able to hit... Why is Jack's Films done a video called Leaving YouTube? Goodbye YouTube. Wait, what? Even Tati is doing Goodbye YouTube? Is everyone just doing this now? Should I call this video Goodbye YouTube? As ex-BuzzFeed employees, they got a fan base. All of them got like a fan base to whatever degree, whilst they were still with BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed was massive at the time, yeah. So when they started Watcher, they were able to hit the ground running. In other words, they've never had to graft and create their content. I'll be a bit reasonable, but they haven't had to start from absolute zero and absolute scratch. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. Why am I compelled to make this video? I'm compelled to make this video because I see a lot of people guesstimating about the financial aspect of YouTube, running a channel, monetization, yada yada, coming from people I assume who don't have YouTube channels themselves or maybe don't have a YouTube channel that is sustainable. I do. I have my own experience being on this platform full-time for 4 years and not having the help of BuzzFeed to give me a push. No one helps me or gives me pushes. Is it because I'm clearly such a bitch? Anyway, they said in their original video that Ghost Files, one of the series they're most known for, or one of their most popular series, costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to create, and there's something like 8 or so episodes. And I called bullshit on that. I took a look through their content to see Why and where are they hemorrhaging money? Now, they have 25 employees. By the way, their subreddit really did an about turn on that when there was an update, because before the update, it was all, they should just fire half the employees. And after the update, it was all, how could you guys say they should fire the employees? These are people's lives we're talking about. I didn't say that. That's what the Reddit said. I'm on the side of, I think 25 employees is too much for a YouTube channel of 3 million subscribers. Critical, I like Charlie. Critical did a video on this, and he said that he has a company, an esports company that has about 25 employees. So maybe he's more able to see why they would need so many employees. However, I would counter that, not that he watches this channel, though he should, I'll counter that by saying I think the main difference, though, is Charlie has like 15 million subscribers. Watcher has 3 million. When you're creating a business and working in a business, you have to work within your means. They were so fixated on having television quality content immediately that they seem to have just hemorrhaged money rather than, okay, here's an example I used in my original video. I should have just kept it, shouldn't I? I made a mockumentary last year about the TikTok menace pool breach. And it cost, just putting it all out there, it cost a couple £1,000 to do, of my own money, obviously, out of, the earnings that I make from YouTube. I put it into that because, there was the studio cost. Now, renting the studio, because we did everything in the studio in one day, renting the studio really didn't cost that much. And I have to say, I did get mates rates from my friend Kieran, who has a production company, Anima. That's what we made the mockumentary using. So I did get a discount. They are in LA. They're a huge channel. They can get discounts. It's a little bit like who you know. If you've got friends within the industry, you can do things on mates rates. So, there was the cost for the studio, which really wasn't a lot. And I saw through their content that they do a lot of just in their studio kind of presentations, Ryan to Shane or Shane to Ryan. I'm not sure which is which. The mystery of 30 minutes talking about it to the other host. So if that took a day to do, and I don't see why it would take longer than a day to do, because usually those videos are around 30 or so minutes. If they're hiring a studio, it shouldn't cost more than a couple $100, less if they've got mates rates. If they have their own studio, then, they have their own studio, they're probably paying rent on that. I had actors in my mockumentary, which was probably a good portion of the bill, because I paid them their day rates. We had travel, there was a little bit of costume, there was a little bit of kit hiring and Ubers, etc. So all in all, it costs and then I got specialty merch done for it. It cost a couple $1,000 to do a 30-minute mockumentary. We could have cut corners even more. I've been talking to my same friend, Kieran, about I really want to do a short horror film at some point, because there seems to be quite a decent market for it on YouTube. And you can do things on a much lower budget. Considering Steven is the guy from BuzzFeed that would do the Worth It series, so it'd be is this $10 ramen worth it, or is this $1,000 ramen worth it? Again, I don't watch their videos too much, but I've done a lot of research on this. Apparently, Steven is the one who likes to fly around a lot and eat gold-leafed things. And one of the series they wanted to bring back on their subscription service was a Worth It-esque with Adam and Andrew. I feel like maybe they're not cutting corners and budgeting properly. I watched their Ghost series, so there's a lot of graphics put into it. Editors aren't, it depends if they have in-house editors or not. Editors tend not to be the cheapest people. I have a personal beef with about 50 editors. I'm joking. I have editors and lawyers, worst type of people in my opinion. I can edit. I do my own editing when I'm not being lazy or when I don't want to outsource or delegate. Okay, so I know how much work it really is. It's a lot of just sitting around and getting distracted. Anyway, sorry. They have graphics. Sometimes they fly out to a location in America and they do some filming and they have little film crew with them. I fail to see why a series of 8 episodes costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Are you flying first class or economy? Are there cheaper ways of traveling? Can you get... Because I assume they're not hiring kit, because at a certain point, with a certain amount of money, it's just easier to buy the kit, or it's more cost effective to buy kit. And this emphasis on television quality, as if A, that's what their audience wanted in the first place, and B, that's what people come to YouTube for. Did you know that YouTube is the most watched platform on smart TVs? Not Netflix, not normal TV, not terrestrial TV, YouTube. I get the sense that they feel like they are too good for YouTube in some weird way, maybe because they came from BuzzFeed, all right? So they kind of, I mean, obviously you have to get hired by BuzzFeed first, but once you're in the company, it feels like maybe they got so many opportunities that fell on their lap because BuzzFeed was already massive before they turned to doing YouTube. I feel like there's an entitlement, not realizing their YouTube privilege. Because the rest of us who didn't have the backing of a massive company to begin with to harness a fan base from, it's kind of difficult to get off the ground initially. So hopefully their update video isn't copyright claimed. Let's watch it, because there's a few things that I have to say coming from someone who's full-time, that's a joke, isn't it? Actually, no, my scripts do take a really long time to do. I loved also seeing on Reddit people calling their content long-form content because maybe it's 30 minutes or maybe sometimes it's an hour. I was like, wish my videos were an hour. But I have some things that I want to say.
We messed up. A lot of you spoke out with extremely valid comments and concerns, and we want to take the time now to address those.
Now, here's the thing. On a platform where usually if you're making an apology video, you have to cry or start with the sigh or bang out a ukulele or say, I have had a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. Straight off the bat saying, I'm sorry, is already so much better by default. Like the bar for YouTube apologies is on the ocean floor. So if you can just say, I messed up, they're bigger people than me, I'd be like, no, we're doing this. Joking. But if you could just say, I'm sorry straight off the bat, it's not a lot. And yet in the context of the internet culture and YouTube, it's everything.
And we did a really bad job of explaining the reasoning behind this transition.
We also want to deeply apologize for our ignorance around the impact of the cost.
Like how he said, but wasn't it him that said, everyone can afford $6?
If you want to watch our shows early and ad-free, you can catch them on the Watcher platform a month earlier. After that, you'll be able to watch our shows on YouTube for free.
Which I think is fine. Because after a few months, once the cycle starts, people who just watch on YouTube won't really notice a difference or notice a delay. I think that's fine so far.
For those that have already subscribed to the platform, we are so grateful for your support. But if this change has you rethinking your membership, we will issue a full refund.
Also fine.
And all past episodes and series will remain available on YouTube.
Also fine.
We were finding it harder and harder to stay relevant to advertisers and the constantly changing YouTube landscape. We faced some incredibly challenging decisions. We didn't want to compromise our content to ensure they met advertising requirements. And we definitely did not want to lay people off that have brought Watcher to life behind the scenes. And we didn't want to bring Watcher to a close.
In their original video, they yapped on about advertisers, requirements, sponsorship, monetization, yada yada. So since then, there's been a lot of discourse surrounding monetization and YouTube. So first things first, I saw this thread. Still can't fathom that they were going to remove all their content from YouTube because the gist of it is they would have still been receiving passive income. But this person said, according to Social Blade, they make an estimated $38,000 to $600,000 from their AdSense a year. Yada, yada, yada. Now, the thing about Social Blade is Social Blade has a cap. The cap is not accurate. If you look at my Social Blade says that last month I earned £470. That is not the case because that wouldn't cover my rent or bills. It's simply not the case. Recently, I took up to 2 months off I gave myself bereavement leave because there are, issues with being a self-employed YouTuber. You don't get sick pay. You have to like create your own retirement or pension, but I ain't done that. There's a bit of instability, etc., etc. However, I was able to take 2 months off and still live on the passive income from my videos. Social Blade's pay cap is very inaccurate. Critical went over this too, but you're watching me, not him, so I'll go over it as well. Watcher have a channel of almost 3 million subscribers. It's longer form content. They're ex-BuzzFeed. They are not edgy. I think maybe this is the first controversy they've ever gotten into. I saw someone else also say, oh yeah, it's hard on monetization. The guys swear a lot. I've called myself bitch now 3 times in this video and I am not going to get demonetized. I recently did a video on 50 Shades of Grey where, because of the text, I said fuck, shit, abuse. Pretty sure I used the word rape when talking about sexual abuse. That's kind of theme throughout 50 Shades. My videos do not get demonetized. There is a little bit of misinformation on this. When the adpocalypse first happened and advertisers pulled out of YouTube, yes, YouTube had a knee-jerk reaction and demonetized everything. And then AdSense was... I wasn't a YouTuber then, but I know that AdSense was really low for people. Do you remember that Keemstar was like, I'm turning adverts off on my channel because there's not enough adverts to go around? I think it's like the nicest thing he's ever done. He wanted to make sure that smaller channels had a chance to like make a bit of money. It was really bad for a while. And whilst it's not the golden era, aka how Anision became a millionaire from YouTube when he was a YouTube partner, when like the partner program first came in, whilst it's not the golden era, whilst there's no more Filthy Frank and people making millions, full-time YouTubers with big enough channels can still sustain themselves. I quit my job at the beginning of 2020 because I was sick of it. Been there for a few years, I was absolutely sick of it. And I decided to pursue YouTube full-time when I had 50,000 subscribers. I did the Piers Morgan sausage roll thing. And that was like a good boost. I hit the ground running. That was good. But since then, I've never had to worry about getting a job. I mean, to be honest, like I'm not qualified to do anything else at this point. Absolutely no one would want to hire me. I wouldn't make it past an interview stage. Let's be real. Imagine me in an office having someone barking orders at me. I've got too used to being able to like say to people, shut up and fuck off. Like, wouldn't work, right? If you approach it as a job and a business, then it still is lucrative. The money on YouTube is much more than on something like TikTok, even though TikTok you can get way more exposure. YouTube is more sustainable and more reliable for a lot of people. There are going to be people who it's not, granted, but generally speaking, these guys and their content is advertiser friendly. They've got a really engaged fan base, which advertisers love. They get good views. They've had good views in the past few months. Critical owns a third-party sponsored creator company, and he worked out that in the past 20 videos I think they've done, they've had 14 of those videos sponsored, and they would probably be able to get at least 30 grand per sponsorship, $30,000. I think that's kind of conservative because I've heard a lot bigger numbers from creators who don't have as big a following. But when it comes to monetization and demonetization, the last video that I had demonetized was I was talking about a very spicy book, and I left way too much graphic detail in there, so it got age restricted and demonetized. Besides that, because I checked, my videos do not get demonetized despite the swearing, despite the adult content. There's ways for people who maybe like the curtain pulled back. There are plugins that you can get for Chrome, which will tell you the best metadata SEO tags to use in your description for the videos, yeah? And will also tell you if you've used a controversial word in your tags, description, or title, like it'll flag it up for you. There are ways of skirting around and getting around demonetization, but I really don't see why these guys would have a problem. They are super advertiser friendly. Now, when it comes to sponsorships, yes, at the moment, there are less companies willing to do sponsorships. I've certainly seen it for me in the past few years. It's gone down, but that's more to do with engagement rates, conversion rates, your actual rate that you want to give sponsors that they always say no to. Do you guys remember recently when Elon Musk called out the Disney CEO for no reason, and he was being like, fuck off, get away from my Twitter platform. You know, when he was just being really cringy, he looked at the audience like he wanted everyone to laugh, super cringy. Stocks for Disney kind of went crazy temporarily. My source is my boyfriend works in digital media marketing, right? So it was kind of a shit show that morning when that all happened. And it had a bit of a knock-on effect with advertisers, companies and advertisers looking at the market, thinking all things are a little bit risky and all over the place because we've got, Elon Musk of Twitter, like yapping his mouth off. We've got this, we've got that. And also a new law came in about online advertisers targeting children. I don't know if it's come into effect or the bill has passed and it's about to come into effect. And that has also made some advertisers, some companies quite hedgy about, because the market's a bit unstable. And this was when this happened, like 3 or so months ago. I was talking about it with my sponsorship management and my boyfriend, because it sounded like there was the rumblings of Adpocalypse 2 about to happen. So I warned some of my YouTuber friends, like, hey, save your money just in case, because like the market's a little bit unstable at the moment. People don't want to risk. They don't want the risk of losing money. Compared to these guys, I'm a small YouTube channel. So I can see how I would be getting less sponsorships, because my reach isn't nearly as big as these guys. They regularly pull in 1 million views. I don't. But if they've had 14 out of the past 20 videos sponsored, I don't see sponsors would look at their reach, their demographic, how likely their audience is to buy or download or use the product they're promoting. There are all these factors, but honestly, I think these guys are fine. And that's not even to mention that they have a Patreon that apparently they never publicize, where they had, before this controversy, they had 12,000 patrons, 11,400, I think. And the lowest tier is £4.50 a month. So that's what, already like $6 or $7? So that's a pretty decent amount of money to be pulling in per month. Some people think that their RPM or CPM might be around like $9 per 1,000 views. I'd be surprised if it was. I would assume that it's higher because they are brand safe, they're friendly, they have good engagement, and they've got a few million followers. I found personally that my CPM went up drastically the more followers I got. I think when I first hit 100K, it just, bumped up quite drastically. But there's factors to that. I'm a woman. My audience is 80% female and 80% within the age range of like 18 to 30-ish, aka one of the best demographics to advertise to, because women on average tend to buy more online than men. That's just the stats. But I'd be surprised if their CPM was $9. Some people can have CPMs of $15, $20, $30. There are also, I've known of a few channels who have millions of followers and then maybe their CPM is like $1 per 1,000 views. But generally those types of people have kind of jinxed themselves and done something not advertiser friendly or got something age restricted or whatever, because it fluctuates. It fluctuates per video. They also don't have channel memberships, and I'm pretty sure they do not have super chats, aka people can just tip you. I've got channel memberships now, and I've got super chats. I thought super chats doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I didn't realize my super chats were turned off for the longest time because I'm a dunce. So have they fully utilized everything that YouTube can offer as a platform? No, they could easily turn channel memberships on, have like a tier 1 of $2 a month or something, add a bit more behind the scenes stuff to encourage their audiences to sign up. They could promote their Patreon more. They could also just upload more content. Apparently, the fan base have said that some of their favorite videos are when they're in like their back garden. It's called Two May Spirits, I think, and they're just drinking, and that's some of their favorite content. They could just put up more content. Look at Smosh. Smosh, I mean, it's a much bigger channel, but they have loads of employees, but they also put up at least a video a day, maybe even more than that. Look, far be it from me to defend YouTube and complain that they're scapegoating the advertisers. I don't give a shouldn't say that, actually. They might hear me and then they might drop my CPM. I love you advertisers. Come advertise on my channel. I just feel like it's a very convenient scapegoat for them to push and subtly push this idea that, look, maybe I'm completely off base and maybe their channel is blacklisted by YouTube and every video is demonetized, but I highly doubt that. I really don't think that's the case. If I don't get demonetized and I'm rude, and quite frankly an awful content creator, I don't understand why these butter wouldn't melt content creators would get demonetized. YouTube doesn't care if you swear, apart from one word. It's like the Voldemort of swear words. You can guess which one it is. It's a term of endearment in Australia and in Scotland. And also we English people love saying it too. You can guess which one it is. So there's one swear word you can't say because you will get instantly demonetized for it. But the others, they don't mind so much, right? They'll let it go. And yes, it's annoying that the algorithm is constantly changing and they don't give us a guidebook. They send us emails per month, but they don't help us. They don't help us utilize the best SEO or this or that. But YouTube as a platform is a lot more stable than the other socials. It's been around longer than the other ones, and people have had sustainable long-term careers from it, as long as they just adapt to the algorithm every now and then. It's so easy to just sit there and blame this almost intangible entity, the advertisers, Google advertisers, because it's almost like this amorphous blob, this amalgamation. They've not complained about a single advertiser, so no advertiser is going to come out and defend themselves against it. It's an easy scapegoat to push, but I think they're full of shit, and I just don't think it's based in reality. Also, I have to say, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo, oh, you don't want to do like a 90-second or 2-minute sponsorship. Even though their audiences like their sponsorships because they integrate them into the video somehow, and they're still creative with them, you know? So it's like, boo-hoo, you don't want to do a 2-minute sponsor that, let's be real, a lot of people do skip past. Don't tell the sponsorships that though, they hate that. And you're going to get paid probably upwards of $30,000 for it. Oh, boo-hoo, creative integrity, behave, BFFR. Actually, in my mockumentary, I included a sponsor in the middle, and I integrated it with the documentary in like quite a fun way. You know, there are creative ways around it if that's your concern, but I don't truly think that's their concern. There are so many options for them to go for rather than just trying to make a streaming service. I think they were really banking on 5% of their audience, their active audience, signing up. Because say on average they get 1 million views per video, active engaged audience members. Times of that is 100,000. So 5%, 50,000 times what? $6 a month. That would be $300,000 a month. I think that they were really banking on that just to squeeze out the money. Oh, that's it. Sorry. My point about the mockumentary was it cost a few $1,000s to make. I did not get that back in terms of AdSense, in terms of sponsorship. Just didn't. And it's fine. I'm not bitter about it anymore. Put my heart and soul into it, got over it rather quickly. That's the joy of having ADHD. But it would be like if I saw I didn't get the returns from it and I decided, well, I'm just going to make another documentary in the next month and spend thousands more pounds that I now don't have on it. It's backwards. You have to have the money first to do these things. You can't do these things, then complain and then try to get your audience to pay for you. And then when your audience gives you backlash, be like, oh, the advertisers though, they make it hard. It's just, I just don't believe them. I don't think it's true. That's all I had to say, really. I just felt compelled, me sucking up to the advertisers, so maybe that they paid me more. No, I just felt compelled to speak as someone who actually makes enough money from this platform to pay for my rent and bills and all my facials. How do you think I've been able to afford all that Botox that I'm not doing anymore? If you can tell. Speaking as someone who creates far edgier content, I basically made an entire mockumentary alleging that someone is a creep, bit noncy. That didn't even get demonetized. YouTube gets a bad rap, and rightly so. But at the same time, because it has a little bit of a reputation, it's so easy for big content creators to try and pull the wool over their audience's eyes. The moral of this video is don't feel too badly for them, because the big YouTubers still have plenty of ways of making more money in a month than many people do in a year. So don't feel too bad for them. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out my members and stuff if you're that way inclined. Don't worry if you're not. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.